Hello and welcome to Knife Delights. This is another 3 for Thursday. This open tag was started by that lovable, affable, and always jolly Irishman, Patty of Patty's Potato Peelers. Hey Patty, thanks for starting this open tag. Well, I'll tell you what. Before I get on to the 3 knives that I have displayed here, I saw Patty on his 2 for Tuesday video show his dime knife, is what they were called. And it looked very similar to this knife here. And these are very old. And this one is labeled or stamped in here, the boy's favorite. Now, I did a review on this, several months ago. I was so excited when I found this in an antique store. You know, it's in very rough condition. The blade's got a chip in it. Got blade wobble. I could repin it. I could do some restoration on it, but I'm going to leave this one as is because this truly is a vintage knife. But anyway, I did the review on this and I was so excited. And if you watch Patty's videos, Patty gets super excited also. And Patty did a response video to my video on the boy's favorite knife. And he said he wanted to do that response because he saw how excited I was to find this knife. And I think that's kind of the connection that really started off our friendship, between Knife Delights and Patty. Of course, he'll probably never publicly admit to being a friend of mine, will you, Patty? But anyway, this is kind of the knife. So I just, excuse me, I just wanted to bring this up because you know what? A simple little knife, kind of bridged the gap between two people thousands of miles away. That's what is so wonderful about this knife community. Okay, let's get on to these fillet knives here. Or these two, I guess, would be considered a fillet knife. This one was referred to as a fish knife. But for the longest time, I didn't think I had any knives of my father, because he always told me his old slip joints, when they, wore out, he threw them away, bought a new one. He just always was throwing them away, and he didn't save any of them. So I always thought maybe I don't have any of Dad's knives. I asked him this last summer if I could borrow his tackle box, and he said yeah. And lo and behold, inside the tackle box were these 3 knives. So I can now say that I have 3 knives that were owned and used by my father. I did ask him, because of the age of some of these knives, what I estimate the age being. Could they have possibly been from, one of my grandfathers, either his father or his, or my mother's father? And first he said no, he didn't think so, and then he kind of thought, well, maybe possibly. So possibly one of these were one of my, or all of them came from my grandfather. Don't know, but for sure they have come from my father. Okay, just to get this out of the way, I believe these knives were probably made in the 60s, 70s, or 80s, somewhere in there. Possibly later, possibly sooner, I have no idea. I tried to do research online. Fillet knives aren't really collectible, so there's not a lot of information on them out there. But just kind of with their style and everything like that, and knowing probably when my father would have bought them, I would say they probably come from that time era there. So on top here we have a Chicago Cutlery fillet knife, and it's got a 6-inch. I'm sorry, this has a 7.5-inch blade to it. And yeah, he processed probably quite a few fish with this one. And there's the model number, 78S, Chicago Cutlery. Now, they do still sell this in a clam pack that I saw online. And on the clam pack, it said it had a walnut handle. So I don't know if this one has a walnut handle or not. And also with the clam pack, it did not look like it had a sheath with it. And here's the sheath for that knife, and as you can see, it's in poor shape, and we'll get to that in just a minute. So it looks like this knife is still in production. The next one down here, oh, yeah, and it is a full tang knife. You can see there it's full tang. Okay. Next in line here we have the Ka-Bar Pro Fisherman. Again, I couldn't find out any history on it. It does not look like this is made anymore. I went to the Ka-Bar website and all the other online knife outlets and did a search for it. It doesn't show up anywhere. So again, I'm assuming this was from the 60s, 70s, or 80s, somewhere in there. And made in the USA. This one is not full tang. You can see it goes to about right there. But it does have a nice ergonomic handle to it. And I kind of like the fishtail here. Look. And this is a 6-inch blade. And it comes with a leather sheath also. And this is what the leather sheath looked like. Now this one I have done some cleaning on. And I'm going to come back to this sheath here in just a minute. Okay, last but not least, and probably the most interesting of the three, is this knife here. And this is a Normark. And this was made in Finland. Now, Normark and Rapala are tied together. It's hard to separate the company history. But Normark and Rapala both had their knives made by Martini. Later on, when you do a search online for this fillet knife, it talks about, what is it, Fiskars. Fiskars Normark knives. And some of them had Fiskars Normark on the blade. This one does not. This one just says, see if I can get it in there. What does it say there? It's hard to see, and the blade's dirty. It just says stainless steel Finland. And I don't think it's going to show up there. So, yeah, this is an interesting knife. Some sort of a plastic handle. Has that brass pommel to it. This brass guard here. Yeah. So this is an interesting knife, and it is more of like a fish and game knife. Well, I just happened to think I called that. Did I just call that the pommel? Here's the pommel. This, oh, a guard. That's not really a guard. It's more of a bolster there. Brass bolster. It came in a sheath too, and it is a very nice sheath. And I have to tell you, the Rapala sheaths and all of these knives coming from Finland always had very nice sheaths to them. And there you can see the Normark. It's got some sort of a lion as a crest there. And then there's a crown there. You can see that. And then here on the sheath, on the underside, again, you might not be able to see it until I get this cleaned up. But that says, there's two lines there. It says Made in Finland, C.N. Corp. 1967. So 1967, I believe, is when Rapala first started having fillet knives made. And again, Normark and Rapala are is almost referred to as the same company. So I don't know what kind of weird business relationship was there. You know how these companies intertwine. But I really like this sheath because it's got this dangler on it. Yeah. So just a really nice sheath. Well, I tell you what, I'm so happy that I thought of these knives, and knowing I have Dad's knives. It's really neat. So back to this Ka-Bar sheath here. As you can see, the stitchings come undone there. And I did clean it up some using some saddle soap. And then I used a leather conditioning wipe on it. And it cleaned up fairly decent. See, it says Ka-Bar there. Anyway, I was thinking about trying to restitch this. And I got to talking to my good friend John at J.O. Ventures Outdoors, and he says, hey, send it to me. I'd be more than happy to take a look at that sheath, maybe re-dye it, get it restitched. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to package it up and send it to John and just see what he can do to help finish refurbishing this sheath. Now, I was going to do a refurbishing video on this knife, so I filmed a little bit of me cleaning and polishing or conditioning this sheath. So I will tack that at the end of this video here so you can kind of see some before and after. So anyway, I hope you've enjoyed this 3 for Thursday. And as always, I appreciate everybody that tunes in and watches, leaves a comment, hits the like button. So until next time, everyone, have a very delightful day. So we are going to give it a try here to clean this sheath up. It is in pretty bad shape. It is really dirty. It's been kept in a tackle box. It's not been cared for. So it's got some stitching that's come apart there. But look at all of that stuff there. So we're going to start trying to clean this up. Try to restore it. And we're going to start with some saddle soap here. And saddle soap will both clean it, and it will. It has some restoration properties of its own. We're going to start here. They've got the wet rag here, and we're just going to rub and rub and rub here. We're just going to see what we can get off. Boy, it sure looks like it's taken some of that stuff off already. I might have to do a lot of rubbing here. Get back into frame here so you can all see it. So this is all you do with it. Now you only want to rub the finished side of the leather. Remember, leather is skin, so this would be the side that would have had the hair on it, and the inside, or the rough side, that would have been the body, inside the body, next to the body. So you do not want to use saddle soap or anything like that on that part of the leather. So here we go. We're just going to keep scrubbing and scrubbing and scrubbing on this and see how it comes out.